Well, it's another evening of museum in Lotus. We are in what we call the VIP gallery. Now, today, for tonight's show, you see that we have temporarily removed the George III table, very long, because we want to display and share something that it's very long also in terms of height. One of them is behind us. Of course, I have with me Mr. Giuseppe De Giosa, expert on such matters, antiques that Master collection not selling, because we only sell the first-hand feng shui collection. And actually, you know, this today is quite significant because we are 4 days away to Lotus on Water's 16th birthday. We are celebrating it on the 18th of June. 6:08 p.m. will start. Master Blessing will start at 8:08. And it's going to be amazing because for a longest period of time, 2 years probably, we have not had a physical real event. We have virtual events. But this time around, it's going to happen on virtual. It's going to happen present, live, in person as well. So you are definitely invited to the gallery this Saturday, 6:08 p.m. And while you're here, getting all the blessings, buying your incense, your next collection, and witnessing the Master Blessing ceremony all over again. And also, you will have the chance to come here and take a look at the many antique collections that we have, right? I have actually hung up the, what do you call that, the Mandarin Square.
Yes.
It belongs to a second rank martial officer. I've hanging up in the last gallery.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, so when people light incense there and pray, they can actually say, hey, what's this? Yeah, it's a topic. It's definitely something to share, right?
Very, very beautiful, very detailed, the picking knot, the way it's been executed, the quality of and differences of colors, that wonderful circle, again, the sun, the emperor.
Yes.
And looking at one side, on the opposite side, we see this wonderful lion just looking at the emperor. And it's amazing, really beautiful. If you've not had the time, this is an opportunity to come over, to celebrate, to take a look, and get into the depth of beauty and elegance and sophistication.
So that was the Qing Dynasty Mandarin Square. What did we talk about last week? We talked about the signage as well that was written by this very, very respected person, Li Hongzhang, right? Actually, you know, for the sake of me, we should have brought out the signage again to talk more about it, because actually the signage a lot more story. Because after that episode, I got way more interested. Then I went to read more about him, watch more videos about him, and it was just amazing. It was just stunning. remember that the words that he wrote on that signage is actually like guidance and words how to take care of your body, how to take care of your soul, how to take care of your, because apparently he grew up in the military and he has always led a very disciplined lifestyle, or his mentor taught him to be. And till the old age, and he was still very healthy. It's not only a way of life, and he believes that how you conduct yourselves would also be how you should conduct as an official, how you should conduct as a subject to the emperor, and in terms of international relationship as well. So that was the thing. I'm still thinking about whether does it match our thing here? Should we hang it somewhere? But let's see.
Well, I hope you do, because
yeah,
it's really
there's a lot of story
significant.
about this Li Hongzhang. They say that he is the top 4 ministers of officials of the late Qing dynasty. But after reading, I mean, maybe he's the top 2.
Right.
So important, so very, very important. Well, so Li Hongzhang and of course the Mandarin Square, they were from the Qing dynasty.
Qing dynasty.
Which started in the 1600s. All the way till 1644, all the way till 1912,
yes,
when the Republic started.
Yes.
Right? So
absolutely.
A good 200 over years.
Yes.
And today, we are back in Qing.
Yes.
Anything earlier?
Anything earlier? Well, there's a fantastic piece here tonight, and I would like to introduce it. And I will start by telling you that this is a wonderful stele. It's made of grey stone.
Right.
It's a very heavy piece.
What do you mean by stele?
Okay.
May I spell it first?
S-T-E-L-E.
S-T-E-L-E.
That's the word. And in other words, this is a word that comes from ancient Greece and Romans. So everything that it was just like a sculpture like this of certain dimension would take this name, and it would actually, as in this case, be attached to a wall.
I see.
It still holds itself, but actually it's very precarious, and therefore it requires a backing. And this was definitely on a wall. Now, what happened is that historians say that the Guanyin Bodhisattva was only represented standing before the Ming period. So, although this I have qualified and I've said this is an early Ming or possibly an early Qing, we cannot rule out that it's even Ming. No, it's late Ming, early Qing.
Late Ming or early Qing.
Sorry if I have
crossing of 1600s. 16,
correct.
44 plus minus
correct.
That period.
But it could even be earlier.
Okay.
There's possibility, but we have to be prudent, as we've always conducted ourselves in a prudent way.
Yes.
We have to make sure that we don't overestimate the period it was fabricated.
Right.
We should never do that. Beautiful carving. As I mentioned, the stele has a sort of a leaf shape, if you actually see it. Okay? Very, very heavy. And you see the Guanyin in the middle. Right. Now, there's a perfect balance as we see the Guanyin, and we will also examine the position that she is in, the postures, and what they actually mean. And we see on the side the most important devotees and the meaning of these devotees. But let's just focus our attention for the time being on the Guanyin.
Right.
Okay? The first thing that I like to say, although it may not be too relevant or important, is that it still has the original pigments. This was
the bit here and there.
Yes, we have the blue here, we have the blue at the bottom, and we can see some other little colors.
Some
yes,
red,
some red. So imagine, this is not the way that you would have seen the Guanyin at the time that it was made, and it was basically placed against a wall. It would have been totally colored.
Can I just put things into perspective and we imagine it a bit. So you mentioned that this is late Ming, early Qing probably.
Yes.
So
Yes.
1630s, 1650s, that period. A good 300, oh my God. A good
400.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Nearly 400
400,
years.
more than 400
God,
actually.
yeah. That was the period that just after Queen Elizabeth I. Thereabout, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's so long ago. And you mentioned that this might have been on the wall.
Yes.
And
that's what I think.
Is this the only thing on the wall? Or probably the whole wall, we see that there's one and then there's something else here that, am I right?
Definitely. I mean, I don't think that this was the only piece. There was much more around it, and possibly we would have seen more of this attendants or devotees, and who knows, maybe there would have been a Buddha or something more taking place. So what is important when I go back and I sort of try to describe it to you is the power that emanates from a piece of this quality and this standing.
Well, sorry, which means that if it's a wall and this is not the only piece, do you know that in China, I've walked one of them before, there are areas in China that we call the famous Siku. Like, I forgot the English way of saying it, but you know, there are places of worship that they have a lot of orders that's carved into or planted into the mountains or the hills and different small pockets here and there. So some of them have 3 Buddha, some of them have 1 Buddha, and I'm not sure where it's from, but it might be from one of this kind of places.
It's very possible.
Right.
It's very, very possible. Unfortunately, it's not always easy to be absolutely precise in terms of determining where the piece was actually carved and where the piece was exhibited. That is something relatively hard.
Right.
But for historians, it would be almost, I would say, fundamental. But for our sense of appreciation, and we are not historians, I am not an historian, you just look at it. Look at the face. Look at the calmness. Look at the eyes, they're half closed. When we look at the nose, I almost feel that she's breathing. When I look at the lips are closed. Look at the extended ears.
Yes.
And we know what the extended ears are, so I will not be repeating myself. But guess what? She's actually covered not only by a beautiful garments, where we can see all the little details. We can actually see the knots.
Yeah.
We can see the foldings. We can actually see all the little details concerning a garment. But what is most important, she is wearing precious ornaments, jewelry.
Right here.
Exactly. So it's actually portrayed in a very luxurious way. She commands respect, she commands attention, and the attendants, it's not a case that the attendants are in a lower position versus her, and on top of that, when we look at the dimensions are lower. There's nothing which is more important than her. And the sculptor made sure that there was nothing that would antagonize her position.
Right.
So that is, again, fundamental. Now, why she has these 2 hands in different positions? And do the different hands have different meanings?
Well,
By
yes.
all means. Mudra, the mudras are absolutely different.
We've talked about the mudras before from sculptures of different cultures. If I'm allowed to take a guess, that we talked about this hand before, you know, this hand that's here, that's protruding and like this, you know, like that, just like that, yeah. Okay, it was to stop arguments, stop wars, not war, sorry, stop, you know, stop the dispute and all this stuff.
Yes.
So this is to calm the oceans, and remember you said that, before.
You're actually right. In this particular case, just to go a little bit more in details, it's the Abhaya Mudra.
Right.
And Abhaya Mudra, with this particular position, means she is fearless. In other words, she has no fear for anybody. She's actually pushing back anything which is evil. And at the same time, it's about, again, patience. It's about her tranquility, and it's about providing benevolence.
Right.
And this is what the Guanyin is recognized for. So on the other side, on the right, on the left-hand side, there's another postures, which is called the Varada. And this, it's all about generosity. Who is compassionate also is generous. And generous not only in giving what others do not have, but also in the face of being compassion, also being sincere. You cannot be compassionate if you're not sincere. These are the qualities that are portrayed in the beautiful Guanyin, and this is what she is actually representing.
Right.
Now she stands, but she stands on what? She stands on a beautiful pedestal.
Lotus pedestal.
Yes.
Am I right? Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And the pedestal of the lotus, most of the time, if not all of the time, it's reserved to the Buddha. Now, in this particular scene, in this particular representation, again, also the two disciples are also
standing on lotus pedestals.
Because but look at the size of the pedestal for her, and look at the size of the pedestal for them. There could not be anything which is greater than what she has. And that we have to know for sure.
Yes.
Then when we look at the two devotees, these are the most well-known devotees of this wonderful Guanyin. This one, is basically the daughter of the Dragon King. She holds in her hands an ingot. What does that mean?
Wealth. Wealth? I mean, it's wealth, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's Longnü then, yeah.
And that is basically the representation, the simplified representation of money, which can either be in gold or in silver.
I prefer gold.
Well,
I mean, if there's silver, I won't reject. Yeah.
If I can get gold, well, silver will do.
I mean, I won't reject anyone if they come here with a lot of silver coins and bars to buy my collections. Yeah. Gold, definitely yes. Yeah.
Now, and basically, her name, and I have to be, it's Longnü. That's
Longnü.
I introduce you Longnü. Sorry.
Longnü.
Longnü.
Yeah. No, it's okay. If I pronounce pasta names, I'll get it wrong as well. So that's Longnü. Actually, this one might be evident to the viewers because Guanyin is a very familiar character representation in the Chinese Buddhism. And the mudras, all these things they've seen in shows or what, they've seen it happen again and again. But this is to dispel fear and to stop conflicts. This one is what we call 迎接手 or something, is to invite people to come into the world of nirvana peacefully. And you have if I'm right, 男左女右, that means that on the right side is the female, which is the dragon daughter. On the left side is 男左, which is the male or the kid per se.
Yes.
It can be one of the male disciples, or it can sometimes is said to be 善财童子, that guy, that one of the I don't even know how to describe him. He's like one of the students who go around, and one of the mentors he has is Guanyin.
Yes.
Yeah. So there we have the whole structure here.
And we have the old structure. Now, when we look at Sankai, do I pronounce it correctly?
Sancai.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Sancai.
we look at him and he's holding his hands together. It's simple. I don't even need to explain. It's about reverence. It's about devotion. And that is very important. And there's a deep connection that exists with the divine. So that is what it represents.
Right.
And this is the child of wealth, so-called, at the same time.
Yeah.
Again, they both are standing on a pedestal. Again, as we mentioned, it's a pedestal which represents the lotus, and we all know what the lotus means. But interestingly enough, and that I believe, from my viewpoint, is one of the best characteristics of this stele, is represented by these two wonderful big lions. And the size of the lions is almost disproportionate with all the rest. But why? There is a purpose, and the purpose is what they represent. And these lions are there to protect. And they are there to protect not only the disciples, but of course, they will jump immediately in front of anybody who would be trying anything evil against this wonderful divine Guanyin.
Right.
Look at the way they've been chiseled. I mean, lovely. If you see it by the side, but even from the top, I can see the mane. It's an extended mane, almost wind blowing and giving this impression that not only they're alive, but look how powerful they are.
Matured lions.
Mature.
Then you have the long mane.
Yes.
They didn't go for a haircut. That's number one. Yeah. But disproportionate, you mentioned that, then I noticed. Because if you put it as that, the lion is actually way bigger than the disciples.
Yes.
Way bigger in mass.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Representation of protectors, and also, if I'm right, some tales say that they're actually representations of the presence of Buddha as well. Because
Yes.
when they say that Buddha is he looks like a very mild figure, but when he preaches, his voice is like the lion. We call it 狮子吼, and the three rams can all get his message. So this is the full thing.
This is the full thing. Now, it's not finished here. If you look at all the incisions, are just incredible. All of this carving is extremely detailed. And as you can see, around the head of the Guanyin, there's a hollow, and the same thing for the two disciples. All very neatly, beautiful incisions. Now, what else is there to see? You look at the hat, and
Right.
This is actually the headgear, and this headgear has a specific name, which is, it will come.
Kana.
Well, I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen it in.
If I'm right, it's in Chinese, this headgear is
Yes.
what we call the 比如遮那帽, or the Vairocana hat.
Right, right. Okay, what I wanted to say, and I'll get back to you, I can't find it at the moment. Usually, in this part of the headgear, you would find the teacher of the Guanyin, and this is a Buddha, and the Buddha would be the Amitabha Buddha, which in this case we can't see it. We see beautiful foliage, beautiful ornamentation, but the Buddha is not actually there. On top, we see the two big dragons. The two big dragons, they're basically flanking this sort of an umbrella, which represents the shelter and again the protection for the Guanyin.
This umbrella is significant, this thing. In Chinese, we call it the Huagai. That means that it's a star, or it's an umbrella of celestial representation. in many sculptures you see it, or even period drama like in Qing Dynasty, all this stuff, only the key people, the emperor, can walk under this ceremonial umbrella. So it's not, I mean, if you want something that actually protects you against the rain, this is not the one, but actually it means the presence of royal power. And this Hua Gai that we see here, on top of here, have you ever seen a real Hua Gai before?
No, I have not.
Then you must come this Saturday.
I will.
Because this Saturday during the blessing ceremony, on our 16th anniversary, there would be Hua Gai, right? And I purposely put the plural there because there will be two of such celestial umbrellas or celestial covers. Two of this. There will be two of this happening this Saturday.
Wonderful.
Think about that.
Wonderful. Yeah. So this, it's in a nutshell. I mean, we can continue and talk about this subject, and there would never be a stop to it. But there are other pieces that need to be introduced this evening, and we have to leave the space to them. And actually being Mr. Khan, a scholar himself, without his presence and his interpretation, I would not be able to deliver and share with you the little that I know about these couplets. He's the only one that can possibly interpret.
But not the only one.
Well, he's the only one I know.
Present, yeah.
And not only present, that I know actually who has the qualification.
Well,
I mean, you being a scholar in Beijing must have definitely learned the arts of deciphering the calligraphy. I mean, I don't know how many.
It would have given me the skills to find out about it if I do not know what's going on about it. So we have been talking about this stele that is from late Ming, early Qing. Let's assume that it's like 1640s, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And we're going to progress in time to a later part in the Qing dynasty when these couplets were done.
Yes.
Right, let's talk about this first set of couplets, which is what age again it is?
Again, we are talking, we are talking about two pairs of couplets. We are going to show you for the time being
this first pair.
The first step. Couplets means, of course, two. I'm sorry if it's evident, but let me tell you, it's two.
There's a pair of 对联 behind me and Mr. Pino now.
Correct. Now, when when we look at them, they are vertical, as you can see. They're made out of wood.
Right.
Now, if we look very carefully, the wood is slightly sort of curved.
Not too heavy, I can.
No, it's not.
It's not. But it's very long, so I assume that it was
very long.
It was hang on a pillar.
Okay, it could either have been a pillar, or it could have been a wall, or, in my opinion, it could even be an entrance.
Right.
Now,
so it's slightly curved.
It's slightly curved.
You can see.
Yes. And it even has, if you see the handles on top where they used to have, they're original. And they're actually made.
See whether you can capture it.
And they
are so long. You see? Yeah.
And they're hand forged.
Hand forged here.
These are hand forged 100%.
See here, over here, right here.
If we see the plank, it's relatively thick. It's a thick plank. Now, and as you can actually see, this one is black. The calligraphy is amazing. I mean, for somebody who does not understand anything about the calligraphy, but the way it's been written and the wonderful skills of the carver have been able to render in all its efficacy the beauty. Now, black, as you can see, then the carving, beautiful carving, gold inside to bring in evidence the words. See at the top, there are the same board has clouds.
Right.
The clouds we have many times touched on this little subject are a representation of the sky, therefore the heavens.
Right.
So that gives you an idea of this wonderful couplet.
I see.
Now, how do you read a couplet? A couplet you read from the right to the left.
From this side to this side.
However, how do you manage to understand which of the two should have been on the right and which one on the left? Not an easy task unless there's a scholar who's able immediately to decipher and to know the one that would have gone on the right and the one that would have gone on the left. And therefore, you read it in this way and the other way. Now, associated with the art of couplets, there are so many concepts behind, layers. And it's not only about the beauty and the significance of the graphic designs of the character. It's also about the rhythm. In other words, there were very strict rules about how a scholar should have written, or a calligrapher, but at the same time, there had to be rules that need to be respected. I've read them, and let me tell you, I'm not in the position tonight to give you even a briefing on those rules. Absolutely very complicated for me. On top of that, I'm sorry, I need to reveal my limited capability.
Right.
On top of that is the way that you read the meaning, and it's an expression also of the wit of the scholar, the calligrapher, and he's playing not only with the words, but he's also playing with rhythm. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Now, I need to leave the word to Mr. Khan, and Mr. Khan can start helping in decipher which one is the one that goes on the right and the one that goes on the left.
Okay, so we have a couplet here, 对联, probably hang in the walls for sure, pillars or entrance. They serve a few purposes, I guess. I mean, they show the values and the inclinations and the aspirations of the person or the family. Some of the words are more general, like no one remembers who started it first. Maybe the guy wasn't that famous enough, but because it rhymes, so everyone passed on. Some, the second couplet that we have that we saved to the last because that is written by, the words, the poem, the original poem, was written by a very famous guy. Okay, no one can get past Chinese literature history without going past this guy.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So we always read from the right.
Yes.
When you look at it, the right side, because that's how ancient Chinese read. So I think the best way to actually understand it is to read it first.
Yes.
And probably after reading it, everyone will think, oh, that's what's going on. So it's written in a script. It's written in a way that is slightly more cursive. Actually, if you compare, it's actually like a bit like how Mastuin writes in his calligraphy. So when you look at Mastuin's calligraphy, it's like, well, yeah, I can see some substance of Chinese words, but I can read a little bit here and there. It's the same thing, right? So if you look back at this guy who has written it, this couplet is even more, a little bit more cursive. So let's start with the first of the two first. And you go like this, and then you go the other way. So it reads, 风度鹤声文圆鼓，山横雨色卷浮云. Let me read it again. Yeah. 风度鹤声文圆鼓，山横雨色卷浮云. I mean, you might not understand what the meaning is, but you feel the rhythm inside.
Of course.
Right? 7 words. We call it 七言, that means it's 7 words. And it sort of like rhymes. Of course, if we want to talk about how it matches, that would be a bit, it would take more than half an hour. But the most basic thing that you would know that they belong to a pair is that you have nouns to nouns, adjectives to adjectives, adverbs to adverbs, verbs to verbs. and it can't go haywire. Like you have, let's talk about this thing. This third word. It's called 和声. 和声 means that it's a sound of a crane.
Okay.
And on the other side, you have 雨色. You have the color of the rain, or the feel of the rain. So that matches in terms of scenery. That is one thing that it must happen. Of course, when you go into the phonetics, if you go into the rhythms, it's about 平仄, then it's even a longer story. So basically, the whole thing actually means that someone hears the sound of the crane, an elegant sound of the crane, because 风度 means to be elegant. 和声, sound of a crane from a far cave away. This is a different word for like valleys or caves. And 山横雨色, 卷浮云. So here is mainly about what you hear, the crane sound. And when they hear the sound of the crane and they look at 山横雨色, they look at all the mountain regions that are stretched out there. It's raining slightly, and the clouds as if they are moving slowly. 卷浮云, the floating clouds. So what you hear and what you see. This is it's an expression of number one is a show off to how they can actually create this couplet thing going on. Second is an aspiration. That means it's actually talking about these people. They are quite okay. First, I'm sure for people to have this kind of couplet at home, they are already well-to-do. If not, you won't have a couplet. And even if you have a couplet, you wouldn't have bothered to go through with all these details, because to carve on such a thick piece of wood that have survived for about 150 years, 150, 60 years, 70 years, it's astonishing. So it must have been astonishing wood, and it must be wealthy enough to put it there. And once you're wealthy enough, then you can tell the world, sometimes I'm listening to the cries and the sounds of crane, and I'm looking at the beautiful mountains and the clouds. It's the aspiration of Chinese literati people. So once they are accomplished, they tend to be more in one with the nature. So this is one of the representation. The author of the original these two phrase is unknown or can't be quite sure. So a lot of people have written different renditions about it. If you search online, some people might change a word here or two, but the meaning it's pretty much the same. So probably in the study room, probably, probably in a place where the room collects all its beautiful antiques, so, I'm relaxed, and I hear the cranes, I see the mountains and the clouds. What a carefree life I'm living, that kind of thing. So I'm guessing it must have also, it either was an aspiration, or it might have been a representation of the times of the family, that they are able to do that. So 1850s plus minus, it was a very different period for China. So there were parts in those times that the Chinese, they were doing very well. There are some parts that they were affected by the Opium Wars and so on. So probably it was in that part that, okay, things are doing not bad. I'm thinking about going to take a look at the cranes and mountains. So that's what this too is talking about. Yeah.
But again, thank you for the explanation, which again makes a lot of sense. Let's go back a little bit when we talk about calligraphy.
Right.
I think calligraphy is actually ingrained in the blood of the Chinese people.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And it is an art form, not lesser in any sense than poetry and the paintings and many other art forms. And in those days, when we try to understand when it started, the couplet use is ancient.
Right.
And actually, the couplet use is linked and find its root in what they call antithetical writing. It's a complicated word.
All right.
But means, in other words, that not only the written is different, but it also means that there's concept in the writing that contradict themselves. Now, I require to have a better understanding. And you know what? I came across a a line from the Hamlet by William Shakespeare. And I will read it to you. And that will explain what the antithetical writing is. As an example, it's better than any other kind of explanation that I can provide.
Right.
And it says, give any man the, okay, sorry, I repeat. Give any man the year, few thy voice. What does it mean? Allow everybody to listen. Don't allow all of them to speak. But look at the play of the words. The play of the words is, on one side we have
the voice, the year, voice. Yeah.
Okay, the contradiction is everybody, every man.
And a few.
And few, correct.
Correct, you have that thing going on, yes.
We have this contradiction of the concept. And then we have the ear, and then we have on the other side the mouth.
Yes.
It's so interesting. If you perhaps have come across The Prince, written by Machiavelli.
Right.
And he was the one that in the 15th century actually noted the rules of how a prince should govern the people. And let me tell you by reading, and this is a gentleman from Florence, and he has the same skills and is very, 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 very hard in the sense that is asking for love by the people, to provide love, but to have no remorse in not getting either, and being extremely strict in the implementation
right.
of the rules and the commands.
Right.
So I found this extremely interesting. And it goes back again 2 times in China, which we can't even identify. And of course, we have during the Ming period, when the emperor, the first emperor actually of the dynasty, he actually conceived the concept of the spring couplets.
Yes.
And that became an important happening in China. And after that, we see that the height of couplets took place in the Qing dynasty, and in particular under 2 important emperors, Guangxi and Changlong. Those were the important. And the height went astronomically high. Therefore, the scholar, for literacy and for wordplay, had as a pastime this technique.
Yes.
This was the pastime.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's a pastime, and henceforth it's kind of like a show-off thing.
A show-off.
That we can make we have the ability and the time to actually delve into arts like this. So that's, yeah, you're right. I like the point that you mentioned also is that how calligraphy is ingrained in the Chinese civilization as an art, which of course, you know, I mean, coincidentally, we see that this couplet has this 风度鹤声, the sound of the crane. This word actually represents the crane. And if you look at Master Yun's calligraphy, actually the word that he writes, the crane, looks absolutely different. There's different ways of writing the same word. Right. And they give you different feel about it. So actually this word, if you look at this,
yes.
And if you turn back and you look at
yes.
that is called the victorious crane, is crowned king.
Yes.
The crane, which is in the center, looks absolutely different from this one.
Right.
One word, different ways of writing it, different scripts would give you a different feel about it. If you want to compare, you see this thing here?
Yes.
This thing covers the whole bottom part of the word.
Yes.
But in Master Yun's rendition of the word, this part only covers the left side.
Right.
You see that? It gives you a different feel. It's two different kinds of cranes we're talking about. One crane over here on this couplet, this crane, it's already more relaxed, listening to the sounds, looking at the mountains. But that crane behind you, which is by Master Yun, and by the way of how it represents, how you look at it doesn't have a lot of curves, but in Master Yun's rendition, it has a lot more power, which represents which is exactly what is written. The victorious crane is crowned king. So even the crane has different renditions just by looking at the way it is written.
Amazing, just amazing.
So this is one couplet. I would like to call it like a general couplet. It's not hard and fast that 风度鹤声文远古 doesn't necessarily mean that it will match with this, because any scholar can come out and say that, yeah, I got a better way to pair with it. Then he come up with something else, probably, yeah. But there are some couplets that are with words that are poems or they are written by famous people, and those are hardly changed. So as a scholar, once they read that, they say, ah, this is from so-and-so back then.
Right.
Yeah, and we have one set here that actually has those kind of words. Those who have actually studied before, or those who are learned in this field, they would see that, this is whose words. And it must have represented how the host or how the owner of those couplets feel. Shall we take a look?
Absolutely, we should.
I have to allow me, I have to be like the construction workers in the past to, no, let me do it, yeah. Oh, we do it together, yeah.
Yeah, fortunately,
not too heavy,
not
yeah.
that heavy.
So we'll remove this set, and this set of couplets, allow me, yeah. Then we have,
is this the...
let's see, this is on your side, yeah. This is on my side. Okay, so we have the different sets here. Not black backing, but reddish, and same golden words. I was discussing with Mr. Pino that actually it's very interesting, because if we compare, like let me just do a comparison with this one. We know this one was on your side.
Yes.
And it reads, 山横雨色卷浮云. Let me just start, I just jump queue and I talk about something else first. This couplet here, this second pair, is called 家山万里梦依稀. So you have two similar words here. 家山 mountain.
Right. 山横
the mountains that are stretching out. So these two words are the same Chinese character. And if you look at it, does it look the same?
I see that this one and this one, to me, they look very similar.
They look very similar. So my conclusion is that these two pairs are written by the same person.
Yes.
Yeah, they are written by the same person.
Yes.
Who? I don't know, but it's written by the same person. So the red one is the second pair, because we know back then, those people have very big houses, and they have many pillars.
Mansions.
Especially for those who can actually afford to have couplets like this. For sure, they have an entrance. They would talk about something. They have a main hall. They have a study. They have the son's room, the first wife's room, and because they have many wives, so there's many rooms. Or the entrance, or even pillars. If you enter the main hall or some of the study, yeah, I was back in Beijing right before COVID started. Right before COVID started. January 2020, late January some more. So once you came back, they said, oh, COVID started. Thank God, yeah. So we went into the Summer Palace. Not just Summer Palace, we went to an office in the Summer Palace, which is the headquarters of the Chinese Association of Calligraphers or Artists, I forgot. So we have a meeting there. So once you go into those ancient houses, not too big, it's a 偏院. That means that we call it 四合院. You step in, then this main hall. The center is all empty, without shelter. Right directly, it's the biggest hall. So they meet all the important guests. Then there's a 左边, 右边. That means the left room or right room. Then there are smaller rooms. And smaller rooms, when you enter, there are pillars there. And they tend to, if they are big enough, they tend to have at least 2 pillars, if not 4. Something has got to be on the pillars, or at the door. So this is what we have. Let me just read this first.
Yes.
So those who are more learned in Chinese literature, if you do not know this, then you're not that But it is written by someone very important. It is also from the 1850s.
Yes,
Thereabout,
absolutely.
plus minus, yeah. So the wood is carved in 1850s, but the wordings were way much older. Let's read them first. 世态10年看烂熟. Let me read again. 世态10年看烂熟，家山万里梦依稀。Sounds good, right?
Very good, the sounds, but no meaning for me.
世态10年看烂熟，家山万里梦依稀。Let's explain. First, this is actually written in the Song dynasty. It's
Right.
nuts, yeah. It's actually written in the Southern Song dynasty. That means about 1200s. That means that when it took about 600 years later before it was carved on this thing. And it's written by this famous poet. That means that Southern Song was two parts, Northern and Southern Song. Southern Song could not have gone by, or if you have to highlight one of the most important poets of Southern Song, it will be the author.
Right.
It's written by this person called Lu You. He was born in Northern Song, but he has no memory of it because they were conquered and then they went to Southern Song. And they had the most prosperous empire there. They were so rich that they can keep paying the the invaders because they just calculated that it doesn't make business sense to go to war. I'll pay you, yeah. So they were so rich. Of course, it was not that all brilliant, but this guy Lu Yu belonged to this. And this is actually just two phrases from his longer poem. His poem is actually way longer. They took two phrases and they make it into a couplet. So that's how some of the couplets come along. They don't exist by themselves, but they were actually famous phrases from a particular poem, a particular paragraph, and they extract it.
I see.
Like, if you talk about Hamlet, right? Everyone only remembers Hamlet, to be or not to be, that's the question.
Yes.
No one talks about the rest, Yeah, to be or not to be, that's the question. When I was in Peking University, I forgot which famous Shakespeare theatre group came to Peking University to give a rendition of the Hamlet. It was a fantastic show, but it was the punchline when he holds a skull and he said, to be or not to be, that's the question. Everyone clapped. Because that's the line that everyone is waiting for, yeah. If you don't say that line, you have not watched Hamlet. So this is the famous line from one of his poems, and this poem was written when he was traveling in the outskirts. Then he saw the common folk. Then he says that for 10 years, he has seen many things. 世态10年看烂熟. He has seen through so many things. And he said that in his dream, 梦依稀, that means that faintly in his dream, he can see his hometown for 10,000 miles away.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, the entire poem ended by saying that, it's actually quite glorious to actually be a farmer sometimes. Maybe I will die in my hometown. That kind of thing. Yeah. So it was a random poem that he felt something out of it. So this might have been hanged at a high-ranking official or high-ranking literati house, because only when you have reached that level, then you can say that maybe I should go back hometown. I mean, for those people who have not reached the level, what you're talking about, right? Yeah. So you have to be of a certain status before you can say, I have seen many things around in the society. Therefore, sometimes I think about and take note, it says 家山万里梦依稀. That means that he's not home. He's not at his hometown. Sometimes in his dream, he thinks about his hometown. So he's still in somewhere that it might be one of the cities, one of the capitals, or whatever that is. But yeah, he's just putting it, I have some connections. I think about my hometown sometimes. And I've seen many things in life. So these two phrases were especially extracted to represent his feelings. This guy, this owner.
Very, very beautiful and very interesting.
It's very interesting.
And coincidentally, 7 characters on one, 7 characters on the other. Beautiful balance, and a beautiful balance of poetry.
Yes.
And calligraphy.
Yes, 100%.
So it's a repetition, it's a reiteration of numbers, but also meanings, and at the same time, poems.
Yes. It's interesting, huh?
extremely, extremely interesting. And my take, and I could be wrong, this possibly belonged to the same palace. There are too many affinities, there's two similarities. When I look at the clouds on top, and I even look at the hangers, they're absolutely identical. So this was an important order, two beautiful carvers, having in mind two calligraphies. But you know, I was mentioning about balance, but even the colors. One is red and the other one is black.
Yeah. It would have been placed at different places as well. Now, if I read it and you found that it's rhythmatic in the sense, because there's a hidden thing, but that's very difficult to explain. Chinese, they have one word, one Hanyu pinyin, can be written in 4 ways.
Right.
Like it can be san, 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 san. But the way you spell it is S-H-A-N, the same. But the tonal thing will make a lot of difference. I suppose for Italian, so that if you say in a different tone, it means a different word.
We have actually a different system whereby the letters are read in a certain way, and usually we would not have the same difficulties in understanding as the Chinese. Usually, but there are a few cases.
Correct. So a lot of jokes happen when people pronounce Chinese and pronounce it in a different tone.
Yes.
Even though the way they pronounce it is correct, but the tone is different, then the meaning is off. So it goes to say a lot. But just an example why it matches. Okay, we have 世态10年. Let's talk about 4 words first. 世态10年 matching 家山万里. So meaning 10 is a number. I've seen things in society for 10 years, 10. And my home is 10,000 miles away.
Okay.
10 and 10. You see? Yeah. So 年 it's like 10 years, and 里 this is about time. This is about distance, 10,000 miles away. So 家山, it means that my hometown and all this stuff. This is 世态, something that is physical. You can see a hometown. 世态, that means that society, the way people behave, but there are nouns. Now, one more thing is 世态, if we put it in tonal language, 世 is spelled as Hanyu pinyin. If you spell it as S-H-I, 是 is the fourth sound. 态 is also 态, the 4th sound as well. So you have it on the 4th note. Okay? If it belongs to the 3rd note, this is very difficult, I'm sorry, but you know, the show is like this. If it's on the 3rd note or the 4th note, we call it 仄声. 仄. There's only thing there's 2 平仄. So this is 仄声, 仄声. 4th note, 4th note. 家 is 1st note. 山 is 1st note. So 山 sounds higher. 山, san, san, san. 山 sounds higher. So you have 4th note matching with 1st note. So when I say 家山10年看烂熟, 家山, 世态10年看烂熟, 家山万里, 家. So the tone is different. We call it 仄平平仄平. Then when we go there, it's 平平仄平平仄. So it matches its opposite. Therefore, it sounds rhyming, but there's a rule to it. It's not just a stacking of words. And if you go on to the rest of the words, it will be about the same. Yeah.
So antithetical writing.
See, first note, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 4th note, li, li, li. 3rd note, 平平仄. This is 仄平平. So it matches. But this one is very difficult, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people do couplets now, but I tell you, if they don't get this thing, it's off. Yeah. So people who are experts, they can see and they say, you know, he just knows the words, but he doesn't know the tonal language thing. So that is the cute thing, that is the hidden thing about it. Yeah.
And look how these couplets look when we see behind Master Yun's calligraphy.
Right, yes. If we match it like this, you can see clearly, because if you match it with the calligraphy that is behind you,
yes,
of course we know the importance of calligraphy and everything. If you match it with Master Yun's calligraphy, which he hide a little bit, you can see different ways of writing. Actually, they mean absolutely something that is different. But they all represent what the person is thinking about. They represent their wishes, their ambitions, and so on. So for the one behind you, 盛赫为王, you know, I explained before that it's great to whenever we endeavor into something, the action, we want to be victorious and we want to be crowned king. If not, why go out and do something, right? So that's the exact meaning of the painting behind you. And even if you cannot understand the words by itself, you look at this, because these two couplets will make less sense if it's written in a traditional proper script.
I see.
Because it's about a person who has seen many things and is very relaxed about life. So you need that kind of cursive thing going on. The same for the previous one that we saw, that, I'm hearing the sound of the crane from far, far away. When I look at it, I see the clouds, I see the mountains, more relaxed. So the script is a bit more cursive. We call it 草书 or 行书. The one behind you that Master Yin is having, it's a bit more powerful. It's also a 草书, but it's more with more power. So the strokes and the strokes actually would bring out the power of the calligraphy as well. So even though you can't understand, you can get a feel of it just from how the calligrapher writes the strokes. Like this one behind, you see it's so proper, it looks like a seal. So this one has an extra sense of power going on. That's the whole difference. So this Chinese calligraphy thing, even for those people who do not understand Chinese, it's actually an art, it's actually a culture, it's actually a field even that can cross cultures, cross boundaries. If you just quiet your heart, open your mind and your eyes, and you look at the calligraphy and you ask yourself, what do I feel out of this word crane? What do I feel out of this whole structure and the composition of the words? And you might get something out of that.
In the West, we don't have this. We don't have it.
Yeah.
It does not exist.
Yeah. Right, so here we have to choose 3 people who answered correctly from last week, but we also have to ask a question.
Yes.
From tonight's show, so you can choose next week. I'm not sure, are we going to stay in China next week?
I would love
Maybe,
to.
Yeah,
I would
because
love to.
There's so many provinces in China. If we spend 4 weeks in England, we should be spending a bit more weeks in China, right? Yeah.
Why not?
Hopefully we can, because when it comes to words, I'm quite fascinated about, because in Chinese we have a saying we call 微言大义. See, 4 words can mean many things. 微言大义 means that 微言 means small words or very little talking, or maybe one word. 微 is small, microscopic. 言 means words. 大义 means grand meaning.
Mm-hmm.
It means small, a very little amount of words. They can mean a lot of stuff. So sometimes 7 words, 17 words, 14 words, they mean a lot of things. 4 words, 盛赫为王, they mean a lot of things. 日月重光, double the brilliance of sun and moon, they mean a lot of things. And that's the beauty of the Chinese language. Right, so we know something to look forward to. We know that this Saturday, we're going to have 6:08 or even 8:08 p.m. During Master Yun's reblessing. We're going to have the live show. Finally, we can gather and at the gallery to see what's going on. I mentioned, this is a very difficult question. I mentioned just now that on top of this Guan Yin, there is this umbrella thing that is significant for the protection and so on. This thing here.
Yes.
It looks a bit triangle, but actually it's a bit more floppy and shapy. Not just like that, yeah, but I think because it's carved in stone, this is what we call. And I mentioned that actually during the blessing ceremony, this Saturday, 18th of June, this thing will be present. And I mentioned not just one, there will be 2.
Wow.
What is this thing? What is this that you can see? This thing live, in person, physical, if you are in the gallery this Saturday, because Master Yin is going to use this thing as part of the blessing apparatus. It's an instrument in Master Yin's blessing to add more blessings to the whole, just the whole, all your collections. So this thing will be present. What is this thing? If you have the patience, you can use the entire English thing. It's quite a long name. If not, the Chinese name is way shorter. As I said, 微言大义. The Chinese have little words, but I say a lot of things. So what is this thing? What is this instrument up there that you'll be seeing this Saturday as well, that you see on this stele, on above Guan Yin? right? You must be here to see it. There'll be 2 of them. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So let's choose 3 of them. Here. Okay, 1. Let's see who it is. Okay. Nicole Lee. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
The second one is Madam, oh, Lai Chiu Ping.
Very good.
And the last one we have would be, oh, Mikaela Tan is a doctor of one of our clients. Yeah.
Right.
Congratulations to all 3
well
of you.
done.
Remember to come to the gallery to take a look at what's going on. And of course, most importantly, this Saturday is the reblessing ceremony and celebration. These things will appear, and many other things, just one of the things that's going to appear. There are going to be so many activities going on, and what I really wish that you can do is that prior to the entire ceremony, do something about your fortune and future, because the blessing this Saturday, this time round, is going to be amazing. In Master Yun's words, which I'll explain, hopefully in due daytime, in these few days, that whatever we do this Saturday, the blessing, it will affect for about 30 years. 30. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, see you on Saturday at the gallery for the anniversary celebration and blessing. And of course, next Tuesday, we continue to have our museum in Lotus. Probably we are still going to stay in China, shall we? Yeah?
That's right.
Cheers.
Yes.